So good morning, and today I'm going to do a little bit of a mobility session for the lumbar spine, moving down into the hip joints, just to create a little bit of space in this area, if that makes sense. So basically we want to have a feeling of opening up and feeling the area has become a little bit looser once we've finished. So let's begin. We're going to start on our back in a supine position. So coming to lay down onto your mat, and before we start, let's think about setting up our body first of all. So just allowing ourselves just to take a little bit of time to slow down the breathing in case you've been rushing around a little bit. Place the arms down beside the hips. Make sure that the feet are about fist width distance. So you can do that by having the feet together and take the heels out and the toes out. And you should get approximately sit bone apart or the size of your fist. From there, we just want to think about the shoulder placement. So just take a few breaths here, breathing in and breathing out. And as you breathe out, just start to make the arms a little bit more active. So start to stretch the arms a little bit and feel the fingers going down towards the heels. Nice deep breaths, wide and full. Breathing into the sides of the rib cage and in towards the back as well. And then from here, just having an awareness of the abdominal region. So you're drawing in through the belt muscle here, just 10-20% effort. So we're just thinking about the activation of all these core muscles around your center. Then having an awareness of the pelvic floor and just feeling a little bit of a lift up through that pelvic floor to begin with. Then when you're ready, I just want you to start with a soft little pelvic curl. So make sure your feet are nice and flat all the way through the toes and the heels. And taking a deep breath in, just begin to keep the buttock muscles nice and loose to begin. So you're just melting the lower spine into your mat and then allowing the pubic bone to move away from your nose. So inhale to prepare, exhale to curl through gently, keeping the gluteals relaxed because we're just moving through that lower lumbar spine and just curling the lumbar spine where your tailbone, your coccyx comes round. We're curling that up towards the nose and the pubic bone travelling towards the nose, and then everything's moving away. So I want you to repeat that a few times just to get into that lower spine and just having an awareness that the buttocks aren't doing all the work and clenching as you're doing that little pelvic tilt. So the abdominal muscles, the lower region, is just gently pulling on that lower pubic bone up towards the rib cage and then slowly releasing off as the pubic bone goes back towards your mat. Softly articulating and then starting to come up a little bit higher, not too high, maybe to where those lower ribs are, to where the last thoracic vertebra meets the first lumbar vertebra. Good, just a few more. Working with the breath. Eye line looking directly at the ceiling here. So keeping that back of that neck nice and lengthened as well. And then from there, just bringing in that right knee in towards your chest. Now, if the knees are not so good, hold behind the back of the thigh. Be mindful if there is any varicose veins around this area, or allow the hands to come over the shin. And then allowing the knee to head towards the shoulder joint, so not directly over the chest where it could kind of meet the ribs and prevents you from breathing. So breathing in, exhale, draw the knee down towards that shoulder and then inhale to release it. So just slowly working with that breath, just to stretch through that lower lumbar vertebra, or rather through those lower lumbar muscles. And just keep working with that breath. Go in time with your own breathing. As you exhale, you may be exhaling a bit longer or a bit shorter than I am. And inhale, the leg just slightly releases. So we're going to keep working through that. Again, continue to think about the length of the spine as you're doing this movement. So don't kind of scrunch up into a little ball. Keep the shoulders open if you can, and then releasing. Breathing in, breathing out, just working through that little bit of a stretch through those lumbar spinal muscles. And then from here, we're just going to slowly start to circle the leg out and around. So take a hand over the kneecap, just mobilizing through that hip. Again, obviously this will depend on length of arm, how far you can take those circles. But we're going to travel in both directions, just mobilising, keeping the hip, try and keep that leg as much as you can relaxed. Let the arm do the work. So it's the arm that's drawing the knee in towards that chest. And then in the other direction, slowly moving around, mobilising and oiling through that hip. So you could imagine that there's like honey inside the hip, and you're just really stirring that honey around inside the hip socket. So it's quite a nice little bit of imagery there, just oiling through that hip. And then from there, just gently bring the leg back to the start position and bring the other knee in. So from here, we'll do the same thing. We're breathing in, hand behind the back of the leg or over the shin if the knees aren't too bad. Inhale, exhale, heading off towards the shoulder joint. So remember not to scrunch up or try to lift the upper body. The upper body should be nice and relaxed here, so that the breathing can be soft and you can just work softly through the leg and through the hip. So we don't really want any tension building up. So inhale, legs moves away, but exhale, we then feel that, that nice little bit of length. And then as we feel that length, then we softly move away gently, just working through. Again, working to your own speed. So it might be a little bit quicker than mine, it might be slower. You need to go in time with your own breathing and avoid doing this quickly. Really allow time for the muscle just to lengthen a little bit, and then release, and then stretch and release. It's almost thinking about, when you have a piece of plasticine, it stretches and then it relaxes, it stretches and relaxes, yeah? And the more and more you stretch it, the more and more it begins to lengthen as well. So if you imagine that in your mind as you're doing this, so here you're stretching it as you pull it in towards the shoulder, and then inhale, you just let go a little bit. And then from there, let's take the left hand onto the knee and just slowly circle round on that hip. So you can start with small ranges of motion, that's nice. And again, remember what I said, it depends on the arm length, how far you can take that knee away as well. You really want to think about that honey oozing around in that hip socket. Just taking those nice deep breaths in and out, flowing with the movement, and trying to allow the leg to be all floppy as best you can. I know it's difficult, because sometimes these hip muscles, they really want to hold on to everything. But even if you're just circling the hip, you're doing something good for the body. Just keep that in mind. And then let's go in the opposite direction. So traveling around in the opposite direction. And just kind of just feeling that smoothness, or trying to obtain a smoothness. So as the leg falls out, you really are letting it fall out, and then the arm is pushing it back up and in for you. Just keep flowing with that breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth, keeping the focus here on the ribs as well as you're breathing. And then when you finish, just slowly bring the legs back down. So just checking your fist width apart again, finding that a nice alignment. You can allow the arms, if you've got room, just to relax out on the floor. Avoid taking them too high up, because then we want to allow the shoulders to release. Bring your legs together now. Feel them like they're glued together gently. And you're just going to allow a soft rotation right, and then back to centre. And then to the left. And back to the centre. And I really want you to start with small ranges of motion. Find a nice speed that becomes a little bit more hypnotic and not too quick and moving fast, because you need time for these muscles to kind of respond to the movement, yeah? Especially if you're trying to get a feeling of relaxation through the body, a bit of soft lengthening and opening through the body as well. And then try to increase a little bit with each repetition that you do. You're just allowing those knees just to fall a little bit more to the side. Then we can start to introduce a little bit of a twisting of the head. So we start to get a little bit of wringing out of the spine, as I call it. A bit like when you twist a tea towel up. That's what we're trying to do, but very gently, very gently. Rolling off to one side. And as I go, I'm just stacking those feet on top of each other. So each of the top leg supported by the bottom leg. Now I'm going to start to hold it a little bit longer. So here you can see probably where my feet are stacked, and I'm just holding that stretch. And again, you're really going to feel it in different places, maybe on different sides you will as well. So maybe down through the side of the body, into the back a little, into the hip, side of the hip, into the shoulder, especially if the arms are a little bit higher up here towards the shoulders. And we'll go over to the other side and we'll turn the head in the opposite direction. And again, we're just registering, where we can feel these kind of different sensations through the body of the stretching as we move from side to side. Now, if you feel that one side just, oh yes, I can feel it here or here, just hold that and just think about breathing into that area and then relaxing, because when you breathe in, it's going to increase that stretch a little bit as well. So just keep rolling side to side, turning the head away from the knees. If you notice again one side needs a little bit more than the other, then just pause there for a little bit longer. Allow these muscles to elongate gently, very slowly. Focusing on the breath, moving upwards and outwards, not just upwards. Let's do one more each side. Just feeling that length. Twisting the head, engaging the breathing into the ribs. And bring the knees back to center, over to the last side. Allowing that body just to relax as much as you can. Sometimes it's quite good if you want to hold this position a little bit longer. Just place a couple of settee cushions that you use at home underneath the bottom leg, and then you can support your legs so you don't have to actually hold on to them, and you can relax in this position. Probably hold for up to a minute and then do the other side and repeat it 2 or 3 times. And then from here, just bring the knee in one in at a time in towards the chest. Again, hands around kind of like the back of the belly of the thigh or over the shins, heading the knees towards the shoulders. Breathe in, exhale, inhale. When you inhale, you don't purposely push the legs away, by the way, you just allow the legs just to naturally move back to where they like to hold themselves. So it might be here, it might be here. Okay, inhale, exhale, just gently draw in, stretch it through the spine. Inhale to release. Good. And just keep repeating that a few times. Working in time with your breathing, remember, not in time with mine. So your breath might be longer or it might be shorter. And just kind of trying to be aware of where you're feeling those sensations of the stretching through the back. Might be coming up through either side of the spinal column. It might be a little bit lower, more out to the side of the back maybe. And then when you're ready, you can open up the legs into butterfly shape just to allow the hips to relax. Again, if you've got some pillows at home, it can be quite good to put 2 or 3 pillows underneath the feet and then just allow the legs to relax out. If you find that the legs on the floor is kind of pulling on the back a little bit, the other option is to place both your hands under the top meaty fleshy part of the buttocks, just to tilt that pelvis back a little bit, and adjust yourself where necessary. If your hands feel like they're going to go dead, just bring the hands out and then try and find something to put the feet on instead. And just lie there just for a few minutes. So you're trying to focus on breathing into that rib cage to expand, open the chest out, stretching down through these hips, okay, where they attach onto the thigh bone. And just feeling an opening. You may have one hip higher than the other. Again, if it feels too much, you can just do one leg at a time. Flop one leg out. You could hold there sort of like 30 seconds to a minute, allowing that to release. And then you could go to the other side, especially if it feels quite tight around this area. It's quite a nice feeling just to do one leg at a time. For now, one leg or two legs, just working at your own time with your own breathing. Resting one hand maybe on the top of the chest, the belly. If you really want to focus on deep abdominal breathing as well, or just diaphragmatic breathing, breathing down into the rib cage, wide at the floor. And then when you feel ready, just closing one leg off at a time, softly bring the knees into the chest, just take a few circles in one direction, just to relax the hips and the spine, and in the other direction. And then when you feel ready, you can do a little bit of relaxation here for a little while, feet flat on the floor, knees knocked in. Or if you're feeling ready for the day, up you get. I suggest slowly coming over to the side and making your way up to a seating position. Have a great day.